good afternoon, good evening, Jar of Marble dwellers and Jar of Marble curious. My name is Linda and this is Jar of Marbles. I hope that you feel sensational and I'm so glad that you've come and joined me for a little while. Thank you. This week, I wanted to talk a little bit about empty nesters. Empty nest syndrome refers to the grief that many parents feel when their children move out of home. This condition is typically more common in women, although I know fathers that didn't cope very well with their children leaving, well, their adult children, but it's women generally who are more likely to have had the role, as the primary carer. Now, when my eldest daughter left home, left the nest, the first to go, I would be crying when I didn't even know it. I recall doing the dishes and as I looked down and water fell from my eyes, I think it's fair to say that I was just absolutely heartbroken. I wasn't prepared for her to go and it was so unstabilising. I thought my life was over as it stood. I really was quite devastated.
Oh, that sounds very sad.
Man, it was, Bob. My second daughter eventually moved out and that was such an emptiness that I wasn't expecting. I'm thinking I'm an expert now, aren't I? Nope. It does not work that way. Being such a tight unit for so long and now it is all coming undone and nothing can stop what has to happen for their growth, for their next steps, and not that I could see it then, for my growth too.
Oh, such tragedy. I don't think I can take it.
Honestly, Bob, I didn't think I was going to be able to either. Now, having 3 children and then down to 1, I felt so awful. No words, just grief and emptiness. We parents, there are times when we are in the midst of raising all our kids and sometimes you just want no noise, no questions, no issues, nothing to buy, solve or wash. And we can even fantasize having the house looking how we want it. Imagine the bathroom with all sorts of things in there, dirty clothes shoved under beds and empty plates starting to stack up in the corner of their room, food you're anticipating eating, gone. That little ice cream you hid for yourself, gone. Empty milk cartons in the fridge and leftovers not covered. Look, the list is endless. On an overwhelmed day, the thought of being without adult children anymore can be a wonderful fantasy. Then you forget about it. They make you laugh. They love you. You love them. They do and say lovely things, and then you don't want that to go away. #empty nesters. Then, number 3, the time had come for her to head out, go off in her own direction, and the wreckage was crushing. Soon, no evidence remained that any of them ever lived there, but the very quickly out-of-date framed family pictures, their hair was longer, shorter, and there was those smiles that lit up my heart, indescribable.
I don't know how you did it. I'm aching.
Nothing prepared me for it, Bob. My daughters and the sinking remembrance that they have gone, they really have, sitting in the rooms where they had their beds, their rooms, and the silence was deafening. And you come to and realise you're stroking the blanket next to yourself. There are tears running down my face and the understanding that it is forever gone. The emptiness was more than I could have ever imagined. I missed them terribly. A very real stage, that part of my life, it is gone. Was I really feeling a kind of relief? And I checked myself, not one bit. I miss them so much. They all have their own lives. You tell yourself you've done a good job, that they're out there living well, that they're independent, etc. And they'll return that text message at some point.
Oh, I feel I need to lighten the atmosphere.
Oh, okay, Bob.
This is making my giblets fizz. I've got a joke. I told my friend I could make a car out of spaghetti. You should have seen her face when I drove past her.
Oh, thank you, Bob. Thank you so much for trying. It is all reasonable and how it is supposed to be when your adult children leave, but it was another one of those acquire understanding yourself on the job experiences. Dead set, I felt so empty. It was far worse than I could ever imagined. Then as time went by, I would get invitations for coffees and lunches with them, etc. And that was really neat. I loved it. And we had time to see each other and catch up. But for me, it was never enough, to be quite honest, and it still isn't. I'm just such a desperado. It was lovely, is lovely to have a front row seat in their lives.
Were you really that lost?
I was so lost, Bob. Something I would say, I honestly felt completely heartbroken, and that stuff hurts. That was when I knew I had become the dreaded empty nester. And that was when I knew for sure that I felt a certain kind of lostness that I had never felt and that I had no idea I was going to feel. And if no one else around you is going through it, it can feel quite isolating. And, you know, I have spoken to friends who have said, oh, look, I can't wait till they move out, or, you know I'll miss them and it'll be okay. It's just like, I suppose it depends on the relationship that you have with your kids too. So anyway, Carla, my last girl to leave home, I've been driving her to and from work for 5 years, and I had just come to love it. And it was a time when we sang our 2-part harmony songs, and it was just fun. I had to accept that I had to leave her life too, as she was moving many suburbs away. I was working full-time as well, and so seeing each other felt sometimes like it was going to be a challenge. I found that really hard. I look back when I was a young girl and I'd left home. I didn't think to visit my folks because I couldn't wait to get out of there, and when I did leave, I was told that if I did go, I wasn't welcome and was never to come back. So I didn't. But anyway, so as I say, you know, when our situations and our relationships are different, then that experience is going to be a different one. So I know we all say things that we don't mean, but sometimes in my case, the list of things that have been said to me and shouldn't be said, it was clear that leaving home for myself was the best move. In my daughter's cases, it was the obvious next step for their growth, and mine, and another one of those lessons that hits you from behind, and when it all settles, you start to see the possibilities and that freedom has arrived. It's not glaringly obvious because I had been parenting so long, but bit by bit I had to look at how I was going to spend my time. So it was time to give myself a pep talk. Me, the Queenager in me, was busting to get out and get on with things and get on with business. So here I was in my early 50s, and I knew I was a part of the tribe in my age group that was normalising hitting your stride. Quite a few women I've spoken to about empty nesting, or they are dreading it, and then on occasion realise that it will be great to have their own schedules at home, their lives back. There comes a time when our adult children have to go and be adults and play house to find out the realities of actually running their entire lives. You've just got to reach for the stars. It just keeps your boobs from sagging, really.
Oh, that's true, Mrs. Marbles. Is that true?
Yes, Bob, every Queenager knows that.
Oh.
Hashtag empty nesters. Without being melodramatic, I had to start a journey to find out who I was. Still a mum always, but not in my day-to-day. I didn't hear mum anymore. One day, not anymore. I felt oddly vulnerable, and I had to shake off this heavy feeling that my life had lost real meaning. I just needed some time to pass to be able to slide into my new life. I realised that grief and gratitude could coexist. That is some totem to carry both emotions as powerful as the other. My heart just busted in the middle, and in the same moment, grateful that I had passed through a big journey of child raising and that life was unfolding in a new way. I felt I could love my life in a fresh way and feel sad that my kids were not walking with me anymore. So often in life, we don't know the last times that will occur, that it will be the last time we're having breakfast together at home, that there were in fact a series of last times. It all sneaks up unexpectedly, doesn't it? And I realised I could handle more than I knew, that my heart was going to be all right. The starting of new relationships with my daughters as their own people, adult women, all of it changing for a while, the eventual returning of a new normality. I knew would all take time, and to have my ongoing relationships with my 3 daughters, also very different women, with the same streak of strength, humour and sass. It can be more objective in my view of them. I've always been interested in them in all stages of their lives, so to see them out in the world calling the shots was very reassuring. My daughters, who individually and collectively were my safe place too, and in a sense I had to display individualism and say goodbye to the old version of myself as well. It was grief, without a doubt, And over time, as each daughter left, I thought it would get easier, but it didn't. And as they bring very different gifts to the table, and I really admire them all so much, so not being able to tap into that anymore when I wanted to was kind of an interesting sort of way of looking at it. I remember the day as though it was yesterday when I knew that it was okay to change my direction, that I have the mind, the power to make changes that suit me, that life does present opportunities and options, and looking at paths that inspired me was still quite unquenched within myself, that I could make choices that feel good to me and that I could relish in my newfound freedom, that it was permission, time to more mindfully take care of myself, that it wasn't selfish. It is a must to do for all of us, regardless of age, not a luxury, but a must do, that everything started getting very clear. It all starts with me. I am still the parent of 3 daughters, so I'm now modelling older age to them. I'm modelling being in my 60s. I envisage them looking back when they are in their 60s and being sure, hell yeah, I can do whatever I put my mind to. My mum did, and I can. I hope that is the case. I believe that you, me, we are capable of big things in our lives. The only thing standing in your way is yourself. Remove that damn glass ceiling, reinforce the habit of showing up and set that tone for your everyday. So I don't really have to remind myself to go to the gym.
You want me to buy you some gin?
No, Bob, but, I don't know where you get your ideas, Bobo. Anyway, it's not always easy in those moments when you think you might have given up, but you didn't. And you persevered and you continue to push through. See, you got there. You're some kind of queenager, that's all I'm saying. And you are one of a kind. And a person like you is rare. And anyone that does not value you, they just don't deserve you. Oh, that's right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Anyway, moving on. I'll tell you something. As a child, I ached for my mother's love until a hole was dug out in my heart space. It felt very much like that. As a teenager, that hole became like a magnet and then made a series of decisions attracting poorly emotionally developed souls and then went through reenactments of abandonment. I tell you this because I know that there's many of us out there, and many of us may stay there for all time, but this little piggy, this girl woke up to it and have been working very hard and still working on changing all those imposed beliefs, which not one are mine. Point is, I became harder to manipulate as I became dedicated to valuing and respecting myself. I mean, these are absolutely true words. As Dr. Bruce Lipton said, our thoughts are powerful. Our cells respond to our thoughts. It's our perception to things that influence our brain chemistry. So change your thoughts and rewrite your body chemistry from his book, Biology of Belief. So save your energy. Healthy people will see you and understand you. People who willingly hurt you, they know what they're doing. It's their power. It's that whole power and control thing. Next. That's right, Bob. You feeling like you owe them an explanation is often the only real power they have. Protect your pain, respect your voice, move on. When you know no matter what you say, you'll never be heard in that negative space, the best thing you can do is hold space for yourself. Even as I suggested before, writing those letters that you don't post, saying what you really want to say and burning them, it's actually good stuff. So the point of telling you this amongst the empty nester transition, it would appear when we are in pain that it opens up other parts of your brain and the most painful things come back up for more light. And that's okay. Have a tear while you're already crying and then move on to what's for lunch or that project that you're working on or planning on starting. So with contending with being this empty nester person, it appears that I'd had to accept, in order to improve my life, that all the people, the players before and present in my life, including my kids, that you have to make big, enormous steps back, like right out of the arena. They will ask you for your advice at points, but mostly they are fully fledged people who buy their own loo paper and run households and their businesses and families. Suddenly it felt that I had this melting pot of people, personalities, experiences, memories. Oh God, the memories. And it was truly time to get on with my next stage. The next stage of new experiences and new memories. Cannot wait. I believe I'm right in the middle of all that now. Got to say, it is awesome. the rekindling of interests and the creation of new ones. Having the luxury of time is delicious. There's no guilt. There's no other place to be. I'm addicted to doing my own thing. While empty nesting is considered a common phenomenon, not in a clinical diagnosis sense, but that whole letting your children go whilst you've been preparing them for the big world their entire lives. We are a funny bunch.
Yeah, you're funny.
Now I'm about to transition again. As I've told you before, I mind my grandson 5 days a week, and soon I'm only going to be minding him a few days a week. So it means I really am going to have more time to pursue other things that I'd like to do. And so there's going to be a bit of a grieving process with that, which I've sort of been anticipating for a while now, because I absolutely just love being around this wee boy, and it really just has been yes, it really has. It's just been magical, and it's been such a privilege. And when you're around a little one and the cuddles and the laughing and the giggling, it takes you right out of your head and you're just operating through your heart. The joy that they bring and the funny little things that they do, and the simple things like if it's been raining and we're at the park and we're both smacking the park benches because they're filled with water, and the sploshing of the water on our faces and hands, he takes such delight in, and looks like I do too. I mean, it's just wonderful, that awakening of that little one inside ourselves. So it really has been just such an amazing experience, and now it's time for the little one to start being around his peers and playing and having lots of different activities. And it's another one of those transitions. So my little empty nesting, is still going on in a way that I never anticipated. But isn't that just the wonderful thing about life? You just never know what's next. I never anticipated that I would be looking after a baby when in my 60s. But that's what I've got to say, that's what I really do love about life. I love how, the opportunities that come your way, that it was something that was so needed, and I felt like I needed to be somewhere that felt important. But most importantly, beyond helping my kids, it was just wonderful having that lovely one-on-one time, and still going to, but not to the same extent, with my little grandson. It's very, very sweet. Like so many things that we've experienced from being an empty nester, we can rise above, and we do rise above. We can recreate ourselves. Nothing is permanent. Time, as in time in one's life, becomes more potent, more valuable. We realise as we see our once wee babies are now young women, young men, and perhaps they've got their own babies and their own children. That time waits for no Queenager. You are not stuck. You have choices. You can think new thoughts. You can learn new things. You can create new habits. And all it takes is to make a start. Queenagers have so much on their side. It really is quite exhilarating. Talk about wanting to go out with a bang. That's me too. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yes, Queen and Queenagers, there is love to be found in the world. #empty nester going rogue. I spoke to a friend who said if anyone had told her that she would be facing an empty nest and a divorce together one day, she would have not believed them. The idea of divorce was never a wish or a plan. She may have made threats, over the years, but that's all they were. Carelessly spoken threats that she never thought would actually become a reality. Her parents who'd been happily married for 1,000 years, she then became the first person to ever get divorced in the family. Like, I remember that with my first divorce after so many divorces. But I remember the first marriage, the first divorce. The biggest problem for him was that he was going to be the first person in that family that ever divorced. Oh, no. I know. Anyway, it's just so much fun taking the piss out of things sometimes. You got to. You've just got to, you can't take it all too seriously. Like, really, who cares? But published in November last year in the Journal of Psychological Science shows that marital satisfaction actually improves when the children finally take their exits. Like all things, just depends on where you're at in your life and when big events take place, major changes, depending on who your support person is, your partner in crime, whether you're a solo parent navigating being single again, minus the kids at home. Either way, it's all huge, isn't it? And the possibilities, when allowed to flourish, and blossom, as it were, brings with it that fantastic Queenager energy of what next, as opposed to my life is over. Now, here's a truth bomb. The soul aches for change, and once you've moved into empty nester status, you'll find you've outgrown your shell, and no matter how uncomfortable we were for so long, once we have an empty home, we simply cannot do uncomfortable anymore. That's why we wear large, spacious underpants. I know, right? I know. Okay, all right, good. Thank you. Stop it! Anyway, so, you know those roomy Marilyn Monroe numbers to keep your bum warm and your bits in position. Dead set sexy, I think. But anyway, I digress. Now, once you recognise your freedom, you crave it. Your true craves start happening. I was going to call them cravations. We could call it cravations, couldn't we? Why not? But yet these feelings, they swim to the surface of your being, and then they're out, and they cannot be stuffed in and down anymore. This is where it is said, I say, don't waste your life purpose, don't waste your time in anything that isn't interested in you or interesting to you. What? You think you've got another 60 in the bank? I got news. Love that body if you don't. Find a way to conceptualize the love for this body that has got you through damn well everything. Love your long hair if that's what you have. Don't care about the not age appropriateness jargon out there. Who cares? Not I. I have long hair because I like it. That's all. That's all I need to know. This whole business that life is short, life is long. It's really long. It only feels short when you're busy doing all you love and time is ticking on by. And time can feel short when you're doing nothing and time is doing that ticking on by thing anyway. Life is long. Life is a long stretch and there's still much more to come. I get a bit heady, a bit giddy with excitement thinking of what the future brings. Hope you'll travel with me. I hope that you do. And when I look back on what I was balancing while running my businesses and raising my family and all their needs and all mine too, when I think back on managing many other predicaments, losses, grievances, gains, etc., I only see a fairly easy stretch ahead of me now. I'm no longer doing balancing acts. As long as I don't go out with my undies on my head, my large Marilyn Monroe ones, I'm winning already. I know. Thank you so much. Oh my God, I just love all this applause. It's fabulous. And so the point of everything and all of this and what I'm saying today is that as I ascend into my third act, that humour will accompany me and I shall laugh myself into the grave. And before I get to the grave, I want to say and do and be and experience a whole lot more. And I'm so grateful to have this platform to be able to develop it and take it into my years yet to come if I'm truly lucky and blessed. I'm already thinking about starting a podcast called If You're Hearing This, I'm Dead. And just asked my darling Carla if she'd just upload them for me. She just rolled her eyes and I put it to her. But anyway, it's that time again, and I want to thank you heartily and gleefully and genuinely for passing by and spending some time with me. I do appreciate it. Please say g'day to the family for me. Say hi to the pet owl, and I'll see you next time. Okay, bye.